Xander Zayas becomes the youngest male world champion in the world of boxing right now. At just 22 years old, he defeats Jorge Garcia to win his first world championship, the WBO Junior Middleweight Championship of the world. I'll be discussing this on Paulie TV tonight, as well as Top Rank's final show on ESPN. Not a lot was discussed with Top Rank on the broadcast about it being their final show. They just mentioned briefly about how it's been a great run at ESPN, but nothing really was, exposed as far as where they're going to go next. So I'm going to be giving a couple of thoughts on that. And of course, Emiliano Vargas, who I just said is probably unlikely, looks to me the best candidate for the next boxing superstar. Looked amazing on the undercard with a flash first round knockout, power, flash, speed, and of course, like I've been saying, and the kid has the look too, so he puts together the total package once again. I'll be discussing that, but let's go into the main event first, man. Listen, I have the Bruce Carrington also won on the undercard. I'll discuss that in a second as well. But Xander Zayas wins the world championship. A long time coming. I think it took him a little longer than most people expected because he's in such a competitive weight class. It's a very difficult weight class to compete in right now, junior middleweight. Junior middleweight is probably the deepest weight class in boxing. And it's kind of devoid of major stars. It's got a lot of good fighters, relatively good stars, known fighters, but there's no major player, major star. So Xander kind of, could fit the bill as far as being a major star, a guy who becomes the face of the weight class. But the thing is, it's just such a tough weight class. I mean, it's such a difficult weight class that just to try to last in this weight class is in and of itself a very difficult ask of anybody. And once again, it's a difficult weight class, and you're a star, but are you going to be able to last in this weight class? Also, Xander is pretty big at junior middleweight. You never know if he's going to move up to the middleweight division. So a lot of things could come into play here. As far as tonight's fight against Jorge Garcia, listen, Garcia's very awkward. Tough guy to look good against. I don't think Xander looked as great as they made it sound on the broadcast, but I think he fought a solid game plan against an opponent who's not going to make you look good. Really, it wasn't really about looking good tonight. I feel it was more about the culmination of a journey and the beginning of a new journey now as champion. The culmination of a journey chasing the world championship dreams since he was a kid, and him accomplishing that. And now the new journey begins, the journey as a defending champion, and sort of to live up to that star potential, that star power that has been kind of heaped upon him as well. Him being a guy who Top Rank was pointing to as their Puerto Rican star. Garcia is a guy who kind of bumbles in, he kind of flies in, he's body first, his feet go one way, his upper body goes another way. He somehow puts combinations together in that awkward fashion, wide loopy shots. It was a fight where you needed to really stick to the basics, and I thought Xander did that after the first couple rounds. The first couple rounds, he got hit with a couple loopy shots. He got hit all night here and there, but again, it's not one of those fights where you're gonna look good, man. So I wasn't expecting Xander to knock it out of the park as far as looking like a shiny star, but it wasn't about that tonight. It really wasn't. As much as Top Rank. As much as ESPN broadcaster tried to make it sound like that, it wasn't really about that, because this guy was not going to make you look good regardless. Coming off a win over Charles Conwell, he himself, Garcia, was very aggressive, and also he was very confident. I thought the key was Xander said in the post-fight interview, the jab. Keep it simple is the best way to go about it when you're fighting awkward guys, and I think Xander, for the most part, kept it simple. I thought at times he tried to impress too much, where he wanted to put together some weird traps, or maybe a couple times I saw him throwing two uppercuts to start off a combination, try to catch the guy coming with a couple of uppercuts. The problem with setting traps against an awkward guy is they don't fall for the traps the same way a conventional fighter falls for the traps. An awkward guy bites on your traps in a different way. So that's why it's important to just keep it simple. And the way you keep it simple is being first consistently, jabbing consistently, and even going to the body the way Xander did. I thought Xander did a good job going to the body as well. And there were big spots in the fight where Garcia actually slowed down completely. And then he would pick up the momentum again. And then he would slow down completely. And then he would pick up the momentum again. So he was always lively. Even when you thought he might be going away, he was never really going away. So Xander had to be sharp all night, and be on his P's and Q's for the disciplined fight. When things got too physical, he smartly tied him up. So again, it wasn't a performance where you're going to be wowed and be like, oh my goodness, this guy can't miss. But I think over the course of Xander's career, we've seen the maturing process. I think there's still things to mature and things that have to improve on the part of Xander. But although he's in a tough weight class, that's going to make it difficult. The positive is he's only 22 years old. And so, you know, you got a kid who's going to be around for a while. He's probably going to continue to get better. You can see he's a mature kid, so he's going to continue to put the hard work in and look to, you know, improve his skills and improve his ability to become a bigger star. I wonder what comes next, though, man. I mean, if he's going to start defending this title, 154 pounds, again, is just so deep. Even the, you know, upper top 10, you know, the second half of the top 10, even top 15, there's some rugged guys. But I'll tell you what, Top Rank, they know what they're doing as far as knowing how to move a prospect from a contender to a champion. I think, you know, even they realize there's a big minefield in the 154-pound division. But the problem with the big minefield is, you know, sometimes it's a big minefield, there's a lot of star power. There's a lot of just random Eastern Europeans like Madrimov and Bohachuk who really don't generate a lot of interest because they're, you know, there's just so many top Eastern European fighters that they're not really a big selling point in boxing. But man, they're so difficult. Obviously, I'm not saying for Xander to fight those guys. But what I'm saying is you got a weight class full of these kind of guys. Murtazaliev as well has one of the world championships. He's got the IBF title. Virgil Ortiz is a nice name in the weight class. I don't know if promotional boundaries would prevent that, but you know. Ricardo in the post-fight interview when he was being interviewed, they actually said they mentioned Puerto Rico versus Mexico rivalry because Jorge Garcia is a Mexican. But I'll tell you, eventually, maybe down the line, I'm not saying now, maybe down the line, Zayas against Virgil Ortiz. If you could build that up, because both are young, both are phenoms, both have star potential, both are of the rivalry ethnicities, Puerto Rico against Mexico. Who knows? And both might be going to the 160-pound division, you know, because I've heard rumblings that Ortiz also struggles to make weight. So you never know. That could be something to look forward to later on down the line. You know, that could be a major. You want to talk about major Puerto Rico-Mexico rivalry fights, because I think sometimes Puerto Rico versus Mexico, Mexico versus Puerto Rico is overblown, you know, because boxing is such a huge culture in a huge part of both cultures that you get tons of Mexico versus Puerto Rico fights. You don't have to, every time you get a Mexico versus Puerto Rico fight, oh, it's Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Oh, it's a major rivalry. It's not always going to be like that. So you got to, you know, when you use that selling point, you got to use it with bona fide names that are Mexican and Puerto Rican. I don't think tonight Zayas against Fundora is a Mexican though. Zayas against Jorge Garcia was a bona fide Puerto Rico versus Mexico fight where you're like, oh, that's what you're thinking about when they fight. No, sometimes two rivals fight and they're Puerto Rican and Mexican, and that is what you're thinking about. But I didn't think this fight was one of those fights where you're thinking about, oh, it's Mexico versus Puerto Rico. But I think later on down the line, Zayas against Virgil Ortiz could be one of those kind of fights. And like I was trying to mention before, Fundora had this WBO title, he vacated it. I don't know. Again, these are very, very tough fights, and I don't know that a young 22-year-old fresh world champion is kind of ready for those kind of fights. Even though as a champion, you should be ready for any kind of fight. But I think Top Rank will move him accordingly to try to, you know, continue to improve him, make him mature, make him more confident, and we'll see how he moves along. You know, they were talking about maybe fighting at the end of the year in MSG again in New York. That'll be pretty cool if he can do that and make his world title defense. Look forward to seeing more of Xander Zayas. On the undercard, Emiliano Vargas, who for me is a can't-miss superstar. You may have seen my video from earlier this week, and in a piece of it I was mentioning about how I feel like he is the boxing superstar of the next generation. When I'm talking about boxing, you know, where he actually knows how to fight. He's got the look, the wink, the smile, the flashy personality, mature, so easy to root for. And of course he comes from boxing royalty, being Xander Vargas, his son. Really made me look good predicting that, because tonight he had such an impressive win. First round knockout against a very, very difficult opponent, a guy with a good record. You would have expected him to go some rounds. Gets that counter right hand, but that pull counter, if you look at it, he's on the front foot and he pulls back and then comes over the top of the jab of his opponent with a right hand that knocks him out with one punch. Turns it over nicely, knuckles very nicely turned over, but also that pull, you go and you put your weight from your front foot to your back foot, and then, you know, kind of pile drive it back forward. But you also need a lot of core strength. The kid is strong. You can see the kid really trains hard. You can tell, because that kind of counter punch, yeah, it's coming from your front leg to your back leg. So your back leg is transitioning the weight back forward and exploding. But it's also your core, your stomach, because you kind of rocking back and then rocking forward back off your stomach like that. So you got to have a lot of core strength to generate that kind of power as well on that countering. And so that was also something that to me was very impressive. Obviously, the technique, flawless. I mean, that's what the kid has. The kid has great technique, great natural speed, natural reflexes. That of course is beautiful, and he's well trained by his father, Fernando. Obviously, Fernando Vargas. I haven't met a person that watched Fernando Vargas fight back in the day that didn't love the way he fought. You know, so I have a fan favorite on that regard as well. But it's also well trained, training his son very well. But the kid is strong. You see, the kid, when you see things like this, you can see it's somebody who trains hard themselves and is very dedicated themselves. Because again, that generating that kind of power on that shot takes core strength, and that takes a lot of work in the gym. So nice performance, short but nice performance by Emiliano Vargas to get that beautiful win tonight as well, and continue his ascension to the. As his goal will be the top of the 140-pound division. He's going to get there pretty quickly. And he's young, too. He's only 21 years old. I think Fernando was world champion at 21 years old. What's amazing to me is Emiliano wasn't even born when Fernando became world champion at 21 years old. It's just crazy because I feel like I'm reliving this because I watched Fernando, his father, win a world championship at 21 years old against Yuri Boykampas. And then, go have his amazing career and have his career of blood and guts and just, again, super promotability. Another thing I like about the Vargas is they stick with their they don't forget where they come from, their roots, their culture. I like that Emiliano really represents the Mexican-American culture a lot. I feel like too many people make us frown upon representing all our cultures now. I feel like, and it can be divisive if we do it wrong, but if you do it right, it can be a really beautiful thing. And I love the fact that Emiliano, of course, he's Fernando's son, who repped the whole Aztec Warrior moniker beautifully. So Emiliano, I love that he reps it. He reps it well. He speaks Spanish. You see him after the fight too, looking smooth, knows how to dress. Again, looks the part, plays the part. I really feel like, boxing needing a young superstar, I feel like we got a couple of potentials here. We saw them just tonight with Emiliano and Xander Zayas. Bruce Carrington, also another young kid who's moving up the ladder. He's from Brooklyn. He's got a potential. I don't know how much star potential Shushu has. He's yet to super wow anybody, but he's looking good. He's always put the work in. I know Shushu's a little kid, and I think he's got championship potential, but he's in a tough weight class. So I know he keeps talking about he's in a rush to get to a world championship, but I'm not sure there needs to be that rush with Shushu. Just my personal opinion. Shushu is a good fighter. Shushu Carrington is, but I'm not sure if you rush him right now with all this kind of there's some sharks in that tank at 126 pounds, and I'm not quite sure he's ready for them yet. It will be a good fight, him and Espn'S that he was calling out after the fight, but I'm not sure if Espn'S if he's ready for an Espn'S type just yet. Tonight was his first 12-rounder. He did show he can go 12 rounds easily. Showed good conditioning, showed good poise, but I'm still waiting for something to be shown by Shushu. So I feel like. You got to have either super big backing, big fan base, which he has a pretty good fan base, but not as big as like Xander Zayas' fan base. Or you got to have ultra speed or ultra power. You got to have one of those things. And I'm not sure Shushu is super fast or super a hard puncher. You got to have one of those things to kind of give you that little bit of edge over the rest of the competition. We'll see as he keeps moving up the ladder. I thought he fought very well tonight. So my opinion on that is I don't think he should be in a rush. He's young enough to where you can kind of let the featherweight division sort of settle in and then see which championship you do want to go for when you're ready for it. And I think he's not quite ready for it yet. And again, I don't know why the rush. He doesn't have a lot of pro fights, So it's not like it's outside the question to say, oh, Shushu's not ready for a championship. That means I'm bad-mouthing. I'm not bad-mouthing him at all. I think he's a very good fighter. I think he's a mature kid. I think he's a likable kid. But I'd rather see young guys when they're getting ready to fight for world championships to be able to win them. And I'm not quite sure, based on the weight class he's in right now, that he won a world championship. But then again, Xander's also in a very tough weight class. And, the chips fell in a way where he was able to fight for a vacant world title tonight and win against a pretty tough opponent. But he's in a very tough weight class himself. So now he's a world champion. So he still got to be careful there, too. Shushu in a similar situation. I don't think the 126 pounds is as deep as 154 pounds. But it is a difficult weight class to navigate in right now in professional boxing. My last point, Top Rank is there. It was, their final fight on the ESPN deal. I don't know where they're going here because, and you guys, I'd love to hear your comments as well. What you guys think of which way they're going? If you guys are hearing anything through the rumor mill, but I was starting to think maybe because they're not talking about it, that maybe they've renewed low key with ESPN. and they're going to continue because they weren't really talking about it going into the week. But tonight it was mentioned on the air briefly how it's been a great marriage, and you know, they've had a great time, and it was you know, they're moving on from there. So it was mentioned briefly. So they will be moving on. But where do they move on then? You know, here's the rumors I've heard. I've heard Peacock, and I've also heard possibly TNT. Okay. I also heard an interview with Bob Arum where he said, you know, they're talking to a network that hasn't really put on a lot of boxing, or barely any boxing, or no boxing even. I saw an interview there on YouTube where Arum was saying that. So I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't know if you guys, if you at home have any, you know, input on any rumors, because I found it really, really weird that almost nothing was mentioned tonight about the fact that it's their last fight on ESPN tonight. You know, it's their last fight on the contract. So we'll see. But yeah, those are the things I heard. I heard possibly TNT or possibly Peacock. Peacock being the app affiliate of NBC, but it would be a fast channel, obviously. And I guess I mean, I assume all these channels have a fast channel as well. Like TNT has a regular cable channel, but also has an app channel as well. So I'm not sure. Also, TNT is in the UK. There's a TNT in the UK as well. So you know, I guess that would kind of transcend both nations. Television, they would have a deal with both nations if they go on TNT. But again, I do not know. Don't quote me on it. As far as I'm not saying for sure. This is just things I'm hearing through the rumor mill, and it's from a person, you know, like a game of telephone. So what I'm saying right now is could be wrong altogether, but still, I'm just as curious as probably the rest of us, because nothing was mentioned tonight, and I wanted to know where they're going from here, because obviously Top Rank has one of the deepest stables in the sport. They have been one of the better promoters in the sport, so I think them having a TV network deal is ultra important for the health of the sport itself, you know, because you need these promoters with these big name fighters to keep them moving, and you know, for them, the fighters themselves, to be able to nurture their own careers, but also for the sport itself to be able to be nurtured by fan support. And so that's it, man. Those are my thoughts on tonight's fights, man. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think about Xander Zayas and his future at 154 pounds. Will he move up to 160? How does he navigate that weight class? Let me know what you think of Emiliano Vargas, who's super, super impressive every time we see him. And I'll see you next time, man. Let me know what you think about where Top Rank is going.